What is going on? Welcome to episode 57 of the Nintendo Powercast. I'm your host, N64 Josh. Player 2 on this one is Hate Zero. What's up, man?
What is going on, NPC fam? It's Hate Zero, your hero.
That is always old.
Every time.
We got player 3, player 4, and player 5. These guys are devs from Floor Kids. We're so excited to chat with these guys. So, how you guys doing? Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome tonight.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
John, how are you?
Yo, what's up? John Animation.
Nice, dude. Nice. And Eric, a.k.a. Kid Koala, what's up, man?
I'm super delirious. I just got off a plane from Chile. It was nice to be here.
All right. Well, we're glad you're here. So before we get into this thing, real quick, guys, if you want to go to audibletrial.com/NPC, you can get yourself a free book from Audible, and you help support this show. Pick up a book like Super Mario or Ready Player One. That's audibletrial.com/NPC. The chair I'm sitting in is from opseat.com. Comfortable, affordable gaming chairs. You can save yourself $10 by using coupon code N64Josh. Also, if you want to get yourself an extra podcast, go check out patreon.com/N64Josh. That's the ads. Let's get to the good stuff. All right. So usually when we have guests on, what we like to do is find out about your Nintendo history. So Mike, we're gonna start with you, man. What's your history with Nintendo? What'd you cut your teeth on? What made you the gamer that you are today?
Oh well, the Nintendo Entertainment System was the first thing I played, obviously, right? But I never actually had one. My parents refused to get me one, and eventually they caved and they brought back a Sega Master System. And I was like, "No, what did you do? Why did you do that?" And
did you have Altered Beasts at least?
No.
All right.
So I hung out at my friends' places in my childhood, and played Mario and Duck Hunt and all of those things. Actually, I really liked Duck Hunt. I kind of forgot about that. That was a great game.
It is.
It was.
And so the first actual Nintendo system I had was the N64, and I played that one to death. GoldenEye and Mario Kart with friends religiously all the time, and got really good at those. And I got the Wii. Lots of random games for the Wii. Really, that's where what was the Rhythm Guitar Hero? Was that?
Yep.
That was for the Wii, right? Guitar Hero. There was also Rock Band. I had that.
Correct.
Right? They were both on there. And so that's probably where the music rhythm game stuff started, and continues today. And somehow we made something like that now for the Nintendo Switch, which is a good little sort of full circle. So
yeah, it's
I don't
awesome.
know, something like that.
So because there's one special viewer in here who we have a debate about which zapper is better from the NES, the gray one or the orange one. Which could you help settle this debate, Mike? Is it the orange one or the gray one?
Oh, I don't know. My gut says like the good old classic gray one, but
that's the correct answer. That's what I say.
That's the correct
There's
answer.
no, there's not.
I don't know. You know what? I haven't come across too many orange ones, so I think the gray ones were the kind of the de facto.
They were the first ones for sure.
Yeah.
So
Incidentally, the first MU SP1200 sampler is the gray one. Like that's the one public entities use and stuff. That's the one you want.
okay.
That's good
They
to
did
know.
not reissue those black on the sides, but I don't know. I would default to gray anyway. If you look at most of my album covers, I guess are gray.
Hey. Cool. Well, hey, let's hear about your gaming history.
Floor Kids is actually in full color. I'm fully colorblind.
Are you really?
Yeah.
So
No.
everything's gray to you.
Yeah.
He was also bragging. Yeah, you were bragging about like Mark Dev Kit being gray gunmetal, and you're like, that's a special one.
Yeah, and you're like, no, everybody
every
has
other Switch he saw had crazy colors. then somebody had to bring it to him and was like, no,
No, yeah.
it's a
You could
regular-
just buy that at Target. Oh.
Wait, so you guys have the black Joy-Cons then, right? Like,
They're gray.
oh,
Gun-
so,
Yeah, it's got those.
okay, all right. Well, John, tell us about your history with Nintendo.
Well, I'll start similar sad story. I did not have an NES until Super Nintendo came out, and then my parents were like, I guess we could try to get you like a second hand somehow. So I had the NES with Duck Hunt, and but actually I remember like this shooter discussion. I remember having a helmet, and you could shoot you could like aim with the eyepiece. It was like some kind of headgear thing.
I
Just vaguely
definitely remember some toys from the 80s that was like a big thing.
I just remember that just now.
Yeah.
So I would say that. So shooting Duck Hunt, yeah.
With your eye?
It was like I'm picturing it like a Luke Skywalker cockpit helmet thing with like
How did you fire?
Did you blink to fire?
I kind of don't remember. Oh, there was like a sound thing, and you would like speak into it.
You just
What?
yelled
You're
fire.
like, ah! and then the crosshair would you just see where I was shooting. I remember it.
Okay, we'll do some
I
googling.
don't think anyone knows. I
Nobody-
don't know about this. I don't know about this.
I'll have to Google it.
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out.
Like a knockoff version or something.
I don't even know if you had a NES at this point. So
Yeah.
Okay, so I did have a NES, and I played Mario 1, 2, 3. Those were all good. And then I ended up getting a Super Nintendo. I think probably when like Nintendo 64 came out, I was able to get a Super Nintendo, and I really loved Star Fox. And then when I got N64, I played Star Fox 64. So like Star Fox is probably my like all-time favorite game.
okay.
Okay.
And like Mario Kart and GoldenEye and NBA Jam. Can't forget it.
Yeah.
Gotta have that. Gotta have that.
I think I was more of a casual player, like games where you play with a friend, you try to beat them, like NHL '94 or Street Fighter, stuff like that.
None of those are really casual games. Most friendships are ended over Street Fighter.
Not if you play them with your eye.
well, that's true.
Let me just get this.
That is true.
I gotta.
I bet you your mom went to Chinatown and got you the knockoff thing, and it turns out it wasn't a Nintendo thing.
Yeah. He wasn't playing Duck Hunt. He was playing some like Space Viewer
Well, I
or something.
remember. I remember. When Transformers.
Oh, this is
Oh, it is a thing. That's not.
Fuck yeah.
I think I just found it too. Konami's laser scope. Is that what you're talking
Laser scope.
Yeah, someone in our chat just threw it up there too. So
about? It exists.
For real? Is that a legit thing though?
I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Okay.
it appears to be a thing.
Where do you put your face?
Wow. I've never seen this thing before. That is magical.
This is the first time on the show N64 Josh has been stumped. That's never happened.
I think in chat people can see right now the picture that it's wow. That is something right there.
Yeah, this is a first.
Yeah.
And I had it in gray.
Is that a knockoff thing or is it a real thing?
Oh, it's
It's
from Konami. That's legit, man.
That's questioning the integrity of my mom, going to Chinatown.
No.
Insane.
You know it's legit because it has the Nintendo seal, the quality seal.
Oh, so you're trying to figure it out?
I love the.
Our brothers were probably real similar and they're very frugal. Probably just went and bought the cheaper one. That's all I'm saying. No disrespect. It's like when I
definitely got this secondhand, so it's not even my mom's fault.
Oh, okay. Griffin. Oh, that's cool.
It's probably
I
worth a
remember-
fortune on eBay now.
Around the same time,
Yeah.
and I know this is slightly off topic, but Transformers was kind of like popping off.
Yeah.
The first cartoon and everything, and everyone's freaking out over it. And then my mom asked me, what I wanted for Christmas, and I said, "Oh, I want this Transformer Soundwave. It's a Walkman. He's got tapes, turns into eagles and jaguars and stuff.
Yeah.
Amazing. His battery turns into a cannon. His little AA battery, like, it's dope, right?" And then she went to Chinatown and got a knockoff version called Cassette Man.
Cassette Man.
Someone Google that. And I remember opening the box because the color, the blue wasn't quite, it obviously didn't have the Decepticon stickers and stuff. And the blue was like more navy blue instead of the actual blue. And then it said Cassette Man on it. There he is. There he is. You know what I mean?
He's pointing to my screen where I've Googled it. Like, there it is.
We need a mirror. Sorry, this is our first Twitch.
No, you're
Whatever.
good. You're
Yeah.
good.
We'll
good.
find
So-
it.
Did she
But
end up
it-
getting you the NES at some point? That's the real question.
What's that?
Did you end up getting the NES at some point?
My mother would not allow that because what predated that, and this is going to date me actually as a human, is there were these little like folding Nintendo games that opened.
Yeah, Game and Watch.
What?
Game and Watch.
Yeah, I guess that's what they're. Yeah, and they worked on little like watch batteries
Yep.
and stuff, and opened like this with two screens. So we had Donkey Kong was an orange one,
Oh yeah.
and a greenhouse, which you go around fumigating your greenhouse of pests.
Sounds legit.
And so, yeah, I mean, I would pretty much start tuning out at every, public family dinner because of these machines. And then my mom said, "Yeah, this is affecting your ability to socialize," and then hid them from me. And it took me weeks to find out that she'd hidden them like in her sweater drawer, like behind the folded, cardigans and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, because I checked the linen closet. I thought to go into like the cardigan drawer or whatever, but they were there, and I eventually found them. And
Did you hide them
so
at that point so she wouldn't hide them again?
No, she never knew I found them. I just.
Hey, we got to pause for a second. We got the first important question from the chat. Can we get Cassette Man Easter egg in Floor Kids as DLC?
Who owns the rights to Cassette Man? Let's make it happen.
Can we get him as a playable character? Like,
Oh wow, there you
all the
go.
moves. There you go, John. Challenge.
Character.
We could do some.
Just don't
We
make
have
him
to
look.
recreate-
Work it out.
What are his moves? If you're gonna ask for DLC, like you gotta
It's
keep
rewind.
moves.
Rewind. Yeah, obviously. Fast forward.
Pause rock.
The pause. Yeah.
Eject.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Needs eject.
Fast forward.
Fast
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah, he has to fast forward.
Auto play reverse is like the hard one. I don't know. I think it would look cool.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
It's clearly too square. If you haven't figured out, John only draws circles.
That makes sense.
I'm giving away my secrets.
That's why every guy looks like a snowman? I figured it. That's basically what's.
Except O-Live. Fun fact, O-Live is the only one that doesn't have a circle head.
He has a cheek.
So you know.
That makes sense. Well, you drew some of the Nintendo. What was it? The Nintendo reps. You drew them fairly accurately.
Well, everyone I met down at PAX, everyone that they just did so much for us. They ran around and made sure that we were taken care of and that we were given the spotlight. So I just want to give them a bit of a shout out in the game. You know?
Yeah.
And
Because
there,
basically my mission was to put every single friend I ever had in the crowd in this game. I'm still not
That's
done.
awesome.
The baby that's bobbing its head, probably one of my favorites. Like
In the grocery store.
in
I
the
think?
grocery store, yeah, that was
Yeah.
I was cracking up at that one. So
Well, the thing,
that's-
when we're doing like Degrassi season 2 or whatever, like when the babies grow up,
Yeah.
that's when it's gonna get super interesting.
Did you just Degrassi season 2?
Is it season 2? When did it change? When did it change from like our era to like the
Well,
When- like real?
alright.
I don't know.
Degrassi is nobody's era. We shouldn't. Come on, Drake in a wheelchair. Come on. I mean,
I'm just
Oh,
saying.
Drake
No, but yeah.
Degrassi is post.
oh, okay.
Yeah, our Degrassi. We grew up with the first Degrassi.
Yeah, that wasn't in America yet.
It wasn't.
I don't think so. We didn't get it till it was like Drake in the wheelchair.
Oh,
Yeah, that's.
I haven't even
unfortunate.
seen that stuff. But but the production quality was higher. I mean,
The
I
guy,
know
the
that-
guy from our Degrassi, his name was Wheels. Is that what his name was? Was that what Drake's name was in the?
I don't know. Whenever I just see the Derrick Rose and Drake side by side meme. That's the only thing I can think of. But this is extremely off topic. So Josh, reel us back
Kid
in.
Koala, what came after the Game and Watch?
Well, yeah. So my mom wouldn't buy an NES for our household, but instead gave me 14 years of piano lessons.
Okay.
She says, "Okay, you want to do something with your hands? How about piano?" Not quite as fun, but you had to battle other 5-year-olds at tournament.
Yeah.
Tournament, but it wasn't quite the same thing.
Did you spend a lot of time at friend's house playing games
Dirty.
then?
Yeah, I would go to my friend Kingsley's house, who incidentally now flies commercial airliners. So he took those fine motor coordination. I kind of applied it to turntables, and he went and is now like probably pushing the dials.
Right.
But so he had one, and the game we would play a lot. It was pro wrestling.
Oh yeah.
If you're talking about music that has earworms like no other, I would say pro wrestling. I would play the Swamp Green dude thing. What's his name? I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention that much. Do you remember?
I don't know. I could look it up real quick.
He had this move where he would kind of like chomp on your skull.
Yeah.
And it was like super annoying and so I would just constantly just like whatever they were doing, they had like some whole sequence ready, and I would just like head chomp, whatever. And then my so I basically would get kicked out of the ring there.
The Amazon.
That's right. It's exactly it. And that move, I just found it really funny. It's the same thing with strobes in Floor Kids. The strobe state power moves, actually, I don't know why. I just do that all the time, and I only get 1 star whenever I play strobe. I just want to see his animation, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
It moves fast. But so there was that, and then there's Castlevania. I think I wasted a lot of my youth either attempting to finish that game or watch my friends attempt to finish that game. We've never finished that game, and still, there's a deep void, I think, in our lives. Even as grown
It's not too late.
Yeah, just let it out, man. You're in a safe place.
You probably find out like some hints, or there's a community, a support group. It seems like this is sort of part of this scene, right? Where you guys kind of like tell each other how to.
We spend most of our time doing that, actually.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that I remember that. Again, Castlevania. The music for Castlevania, first one, love it. Amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. That's awesome. Was there any other systems like Super Nintendo or 64 that you got to play when you were younger?
No. There was my friend Melissa when I started going to college, had a Game Boy, and I would steal her Game Boy and play Dr. Mario.
That's what we're all leaving out. We're all forgetting the Game Boy.
Yeah, that was
Tetris.
fun. And then really, yeah, there's like huge gaps in my knowledge of console gaming, but I do now have an NES now, finally, that I got at a flea market. And I bought it
Nice.
to teach my daughters how to play Mario Brothers, but also to play these cartridges now that they make that use the synth engine of the NES, and they have a little like MIDI cable like that kind of hangs out, and so you plug it into your MIDI keyboard, and you make all those tones using
nice.
the actual engine. So I actually use it in the studio for music device now than actual.
Basically making
gameplay.
chip tunes with the Nintendo itself.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
cool. That's cool.
Yeah, there's one called the Chip Maestro.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a cartridge. You know, they built it right in the cartridge, and there's a little MIDI cable. I used it on a couple of the tracks in the arcade.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Huh.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'll have to listen for that for sure. So what are you playing now? I'm assuming you have a Switch. Do you play any of the games on there?
I have a Switch. I've been trying to finish Floor Kids because this guy keeps making fun of me that.
You're in the game. You're in the game. You can't not beat it.
I'm in the game. Where?
So you haven't even made it to yourself yet. I apologize for spoiling you.
Spoilers.
You right now? Did you? You drew me.
Real punch.
Yeah, like I just I just wish there was more like fumigating of pests. That's like something I know how to do, greenhouse style.
Yeah. Donkey Kong 3. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah, jump left, right. I got that.
Yeah.
Turntable 1, turntable 2, crossfader.
Right. You're good there.
There's like 18 buttons on the Switch. I don't,
Too many.
I know which one goes back to the menu though. That one, and then one that pauses the game that I hit all the time by accident.
Pause.
Which
Start
doesn't even
button.
look like a game. It doesn't even look like a button. It looks like a tiny little
Like a mini D-pad, right? The plus sign. Yeah.
I don't know. It's like up here somewhere. I'm like, what do we do?
Right.
Is it the start button?
Which one's the start button's on the bottom right?
No,
Come on now.
nope. But good,
No.
good try. That's the home button. But
Yeah.
John, how about you, man? John, what are you playing on the Switch?
Yeah. What are you playing on the Switch?
I'm still playing with the dev kit. Actually,
You haven't bought one yet.
I haven't bought.
Okay.
Switch.
Here's my Switch Christmas story. All right.
All right, cool.
LA. I'm at my sister-in-law. We're visiting my sister-in-law's family.
Because we share this.
Well, we have one dev kit here in Montreal because we're on a budget. And then he wanted to keep it for the holidays. So then I'm like, okay, it's cool. I'm going to LA. I'll just pick one up in LA. So first thing I try to do is I go to Target, and there's these kids, these 4, I don't know, like 9-year-old brothers, or 9, 10, 11, and they're all pooling their gift cards together, right? Trying to like rack up enough gift card money to buy this Switch.
Yeah.
And I'm looking in the showcase, and there's literally only one Switch there.
Ah.
So how evil would I be if I were just like,
Yoink.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm not the Grinch, right? So I was just gonna sit.
Yes,
I
you are.
was kind of just waiting to see how many gift cards they actually had, because if they didn't have enough, then that's that, and they would move on, and then I would just grab that Switch. But the mother showed up, and it became like this whole discussion where the youngest kid was maybe 5, and let's just call him Mike, not because of Mike, but just because Mike. You always call the young. So then the mother's like, Mikey's never gonna play it. He's too young. And then but meanwhile but he, you know, the 5-year-old also had a gift card, which was real hard currency in the situation. So
Yeah.
the older brothers were like trying to coerce the younger brother into like throwing his card into the pot.
Oh, of course.
And then he's like, "No, you know, I actually want some Star Wars stuff." And they're like, "Oh, come on!" There was all kinds of like intra-familial bullying going on here, and I was just sort of just standing there hoping, you know, whatever, one way or other, this would resolve. Either they buy it and I move on to another shop, or they don't and I pick it up. Anyway, so they go to the Star Wars aisle, and then the gentleman who was serving them takes the Switch box up to the counter. He's like, "Okay, well, I'll wait for you at the cash with this." And the mother says, "Okay, yeah, he's just gonna go look over here, but we're probably gonna buy this thing because it actually comes with it was a special version that came with the game and Mario Odyssey and all that stuff."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of just hanging out, and it turns out the guy opens it to do a quality check. It was a return, and then he says, "Oh no, now I have to break these kids' hearts," right? And he said, and I was like, "Why do you have to break these kids' hearts, dude? It's like Christmas." And he says, because the card that had the Mario game on it had been scratched and then returned, so he didn't was allowed to sell it again because it was supposed to be the special Mario Odyssey version that came with the game. So then he went and told the family, you know, "I can't actually sell this to you because it's supposed to include this game, but somebody's already like used the voucher, so you're not going to get the game." And then the mother says, "Well, how much is the game?" And then he says, "Well, if you buy it on cartridges, this much." And she's like, "What?" And then so basically they weren't going to buy it. Then meanwhile, I'm like, well, you know, really, it was just my mother-in-law wanted to see Floor Kids, so that's why I was trying to buy this Switch. So I walk up to him and I'm like, "Dude, it doesn't really matter to me that it's the voucher's gone. Like, why don't you just sell this to me as an open box or whatever? And, you know, maybe cut a little discount, whatever, but I don't really care that it doesn't have a thing." And he basically had to call his superior. And like half an hour later, he said, "Sorry, it's a mandate. Like, we can't sell this to you at all." So it was a good like hour and a half
for nothing,
trying to find the one Switch in Los Angeles. But then I did find one the next day. I went to Best Buy. No promo.
Yeah, not a sponsor.
And they were. It was empty. The whole Switch section was empty, as in most of the Toys R Us's that we visited. Everything was like, you know. And then he said, "Oh, if you want, maybe there's one front. You should ask the guy at the front of the store." So I walked to the guy that checks your bags and stuff, and I was like, "Hey, they told me to come up here and ask you if you guys had a Switch, like just one, like last one kicked around." And he just literally laughed in my face, like, "That's it." But then he looked over the pile where it's supposed to be, and then he said, "Actually, I think this is your lucky day." And then he found one.
Oh, nice.
Great. It's a happy story.
Yeah.
So if that family was next to me, I probably would have just bought it for them because the kids would have like freaked out, right?
So can we go back to the Target story?
Oh boy.
I was totally expecting there would be some like happy ending there, and it just kept getting worse. Like that was not what I was expecting.
Like, yeah, you know, sometimes
reality hits.
Sometimes it's more like a one-car wife film. You know what I mean?
All right. Well,
it's on the unresolved, you know, and in their
So Mike, what are you playing on this?
Yeah, there you go.
Good job, John.
All right, what are we talking about here? What is this?
We're getting to it. We're getting to it.
Oh,
I was playing Zelda, and I was
Nice.
I was doing awesome, and I was just about to fight Ganon, and I went on like a big, resource collecting thing, getting ancient arrows ready for the fight, and all that stuff. Put all my hours in, and then my kids erased my game. So I haven't been able to. I know. I haven't been able. I started for like 15 minutes playing a game, and I was like, no, I can't do this. So I don't know if I'll ever actually beat Ganon.
Oh, no.
But we'll see. Maybe
No.
one day when I'm.
Put the kids to work. Say, come on, back
Yeah.
back to where I was, kids. I
Mike's
need.
kids are so cute.
Yeah.
Mike's kids.
So I switched over, and now I'm playing Odyssey.
There you go.
And I beat Bowser. So there you go. At
Nice.
least I was like, nobody touch this. I'm gonna like at least get through Bowser, and then so. So what am I? Yeah, that was just last weekend. So,
I'm
yeah,
really
there's a bunch
sorry.
of others.
Wait, can everybody in chat just hit F to pay respects for Mike and his deleted game? Like,
How many hours are we talking about here, Mike?
I don't know how long that takes. I don't know. It's got to be over 100 hours, right?
Yeah, you can sink hundreds of hours into
Yeah.
Zelda. I mean, at least 120. So
Yeah, I think.
And that was during our crunch time. Remember we were out there.
Yeah, that was.
So when that happened, I think you just kind of came in dejected.
that's how Mike finished coding the game. He's
Yeah,
like, well, I
exactly.
can't play Zelda, so
He was like telling the story. He's like, I think one of my kids was showing my other kids, like, look at this, and then deleted it.
Oh no!
I don't know how that happened, but anyway.
But just for my information, how is it you? Can someone tell me how you accidentally erase the game so I don't do it?
you have to hit
normally
delete
they would log
file
off.
and then hit yes. Typically.
yeah, it's
So-
not something you can easily do accidentally. I mean, if it's possible.
I've had kids
Yeah, so
do it to mine.
I went back in and and there was a save, but it was I guess they like went back several saves and started from there, and then played for a while, I guess, and
Yeah.
somehow resaved.
Oh,
but-
they wiped over your save or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it actually wasn't gone completely. But I was like way like it was old. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So
Let's talk
So
about
let's-
fun things.
yeah, let's bring the mood back. Let's bring it back. We had that Target story that I'm still crying about. We
It's been a hard year.
yeah, man, I want to find that family and like buy a Switch in front of them.
Your save saved over your wrong save. I'm trying to think of what that looks like if it was a flesh wound. If there's it was like one callus, then you wanted to go back to, and then it grows like one layer of skin grows over that, and then you.
Dude,
have
happy thoughts.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
let's go to our first question. What do you think? Should we do it?
You guys ready to talk about the development of Floor Kids? You guys ready?
We haven't gotten any questions yet. Let's get one.
Yeah. So
these dudes made a game.
yeah. So Floor Kids,
Qualified.
I'm very hopeful now. Like I want to make a game. I feel like I can do it now after just this last half hour. So we're
Yeah,
we're
there you go.
we're
Just
good.
We're halfway there. We're halfway there.
Yeah, exactly. So Floor Kids, one of the most unique games on the eShop, especially in terms of art, gameplay, music. Like, where did the idea come from? Like, kind of just like break it down for us. No pun intended.
From here, more the frontal lobe of this day.
I would say when we're talking about where did the idea come from, it's kind of like batting ideas back and forth until we got to somewhere where it could be like, oh, this could be this, or this could be a show, or it could be a game, or it could be something. So I feel like I just started animating these characters, which were already sort of my style of characters, or one of my styles of characters, which, as Eric said, I only draw circles. This is kind of a funny story. So I went to animation college, and we were all like kind of the best from where we were. Every high school kind of in this one school, and we were all like kind of eyeing each other on the first day, trying to like size each other up and try to impress the teacher and draw as good as we could or whatever on the first day. And the teacher was like, okay, we're going to warm up with circles. Just start with circles on your page. just warm up for a bit and then I'll come back. And then we were drawing circles for like an hour or something. He never came back. And then it was like, yeah, now draw circles the other way. And then just sort of like, he just for 4 hours was a 4-hour like lecture course or whatever, just drawing different ways of drawing circles. He was like, you think you're gonna learn something today? You don't even know how to draw circles yet. And then maybe that clicked in me, so I can
now he can't draw anything.
So anyways, like I started animating these b-boy characters. It's like one character was kind of based off of my moves and my style, like against battling against another character. Olive was a really good friend of mine. We were practicing a lot at the time, so I animated these characters, tested them, and then I showed them to Kikwala, and he was like, "What?" He kind of had this like, he wasn't even like reacting. He was just kind of silently processing.
You know that scene when the detectives go into this like weird, reclusive cabin, and then they see all this like weird, like serial killery stuff on the walls, and you just have to process it. But here's an example. Where's the camera on this? Oh, you can't. I need mirrors. That's the thing. I need mirrors.
No mirrors.
He just left. For those of you that are just listening, he just got up. He's looking for a mirror right now. So
Kid Koala's gone.
he may rip one off the bathroom wall. We don't know. We're not sure.
Can we turn the computer around without unplugging everything? I want to show them this board here because I remember seeing this.
And this is how we lost John John.
No. They need to see it in the context of the wall. Just look at it like drawing.
Okay.
I don't know. So anyways, we did a little collab, and then it was like this little short animated film that we were just sort of putting on the internet. And then we met Mike because Eric kept saying like, we should make a video game, and I was basically like, how are we gonna do that? Because like you just saw us talk this whole time, we don't know anything, right? Like we're like the Dumb and Dumber of video game scene.
Guilty.
So he was like, yeah, man, we can make this a video game. And like,
but watch
don't
me
look at me.
outsmart.
Like,
I'm about to outsmart the computer right now by taking a picture of the wall and putting the image on my phone in front of this camera.
Okay.
To get so people know what I'm talking about.
It's like Inception. So we'll talk over this.
So basically, when Mike came into the picture, everything became like this could be very possible.
So how did you meet Mike? Were you guys looking for a dev, or did you guys just happen to know each other?
I have to say, Mike.
This is what this dude's wall looks like. Okay.
That's not that impressive.
I'm not saying it's impressive. I'm saying it's a bit.
I see circles. I see circles.
Like part of me was like, my heart broke a little bit. I'm like, dude, this guy is like really breaking it down. Especially this page. This page just hurts me to my core. Like, look at this.
That page was done in order to teach Mike and these guys where the internet.
Yeah. So let me jump in.
Where'd they find you, Mike?
Where'd they find you? Yeah, I think Twitter. I mean, like, I'm a big fan of Kid Koala. I've always been following him. So he sent a shout out once he saw some of these like little short animations of John's, and I was instantly drawn. We said yes, and then somehow did a double take when we saw all of the John and Eric just showed us a little picture of how all the moves transition into each other, and so there are now in the game, I had no idea this was going to happen, but now in the game there's about at least 1,000 drawings per character, and then there's a bunch of characters, and and actually that's what kind of drew me into it too, is like a puzzle, you know. It's like playing video games is like a puzzle, making video games is kind of like a puzzle too. It's like a and trying to make a system to put all these images together and do transitions from any point, any frame to any other frame, and then make it interactive and make it controllable. That was a pretty engaging puzzle, to a pretty engaging game to try to figure out the making of this game. But yeah, I was living in Montreal back then, and Montreal is a small community if you're an English speaker and in the creative space and stuff like that. So we bumped into each other, and yeah, we went out for some food. There's always food.
Yeah.
That's good food. And yeah, we just managed to pick it up off the ground. We got some funding from the Canada Media Fund because we're in Canada, and Canada Media Fund supports wacky projects like this. So that was good, and they managed to, yeah. So they help fund these weird indie projects that wouldn't otherwise exist. And I don't know if I've seen too many other games like this that are just well, breakdance games, there's few and far between for those, and hand animated things like this are yeah, it was an intriguing original concept that I still love.
Yeah.
I mean, I only work with crazy people, and this dude is like he's like literally the only dude crazy enough to animate, you know, hundreds of transitions and thousands of frames per character and all these moves. And he's the only one who could probably do it because he's a b-boy himself. He's not even doing it from like watching reference videos. He's actually just
doing it from memory,
meditating and being like, this is the torque and the rotation and the angle, blah, blah, blah. And then he just starts drawing. And then,
First of all, I think
slide trace under the door every now and then. I'm like, dude, you got to eat. He's like, I'm in the zone. Let me tell you something. I mean,
we went equally to 7-Eleven on those runs, and
That's
I know.
I can hold my own when it comes to. What I'm saying is, my first album was called Carpal Tunnel Syndrome because for turntable nerds, when you practice that much like on the cut all the time, you eventually start breaking down all the, you know, nerve endings in your wrists and stuff. So it was kind of an inside joke, like, you know, chill out. But we know, like, we were walking around with extra faders in our pockets because we would get nervous if we weren't like working on our technique or something while we're sitting on a bus or something like that. You know what I mean? So at one point, you realize your life's a bit out of balance. Anyways, on to John. So John was animating these things, right? And he's realizing he's drawing. Here's his Wacom tablet. He's like drawing. And then at one point, you're telling me, you're like, yo, my wrist's kind of sore and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, yeah, you need to take breaks. And that's no joke. You know what I mean? Like, go skateboard, go do something else, come back to it. Don't just like crank on that drawing all the time. And you know what this dude did instead? He learned how to draw with his left hand. So this is what he's doing. He take breaks, start animating with his left hand. I'm sure, like in a year, he'll have two Wacom tabs like this. While I am the animation master. Anyway,
This is like partially
dude
true.
is crazy.
It's partially true, but
So that's what I'm saying. Like I needed to kind of find this motley crew of insane people, and he's the crazy enough one to kind of spark this thing. But let me tell you, Mike is the only like code head who's crazy enough to take on something like that and be like, okay, there's over 100 transitions between all this 18 moves per character, over 1,000 frames, and this blah 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 blah. You know what I mean?
so yeah, the story with Mike was
So
like,
Mike was up for the challenge, and you know, I can't say enough about Mike and Hollow Labs and Namesh and Philippe, the designer, right, and Roger and all the, like, they all really just took this really messed up, insane idea and actually pulled it off. You know, so I'm pretty psyched about it.
yeah, one story I remember with Mike was how he was like learning the b-boy logic in order to build the first system. The first system was like hand built. So that's why that drawing where every frame was printed out and linked up and the frame number and which drawing could go to which move, because the way I animated it, it's not like the okay, they got it.
No, I don't think they do.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because I've been looking at it for a year and I still don't get it.
There's only like 4 moves on here, so it's not even representative.
Only 4 moves, so you've got like pages of that.
No, I mean those are all in the system. It's just to explain it to someone else. Like
Okay.
So basically, it's not just the draw. I feel like it's not just the drawings that give the value. It's the fact that these moves look real, or they look realistic to me at least, because I know what they're supposed to look like, because I show up to the practices and I'll watch how people do their moves and I'll learn for myself, but then I get that embedded in my head, like in terms of like how it's supposed to look. So when I animate it, if it's like a windmill, I've figured out that there's got to be 3 rotations in when I animate the cycle. There's 1 windmill, 2nd windmill, 3rd windmill, and then it links up in a loop. So there's 3 actually in there. So that means there's 3 exit point animations and 3 entry animations to any other move that exists in the system. So that's very, very like complex. And for somebody who doesn't look at break or, do animation, like I got to break that down. So Mike built that system by hand for the first engine, where it was like, if this drawing, frame number 12 from windmill, then what? It can either go out, it can continue, it can stop, it can do this. He built this system. It looked like the internet. Like when I went into it, like, he built the internet. Actually, I was like zooming in and like panning over, and then I was like, "Why did you duplicate this?" He was like, "Oh, because I thought that no, like it can be like this." And then he's like, "Oh, okay, that would make it easier." He like built this whole thing, and then I would zoom in, and then when the second character came, it felt like he started building it, and then he kind of had an idea. I think it was you and Amesh, right? You and Amesh. Amesh is our lead programmer, coder, brilliant genius dude, and he figured it out that it would all be based on the file name, so it would just whatever input. If you were trying to do this move, okay, I'll rewind 1 sec just to compare it to fighting games in terms of animation. Like in Street Fighter, there's always an idle. So you do a move, you do a punch, and you get back to idle. And then you do a kick, you're back to idle. So it makes the animation system a little bit more simple than what's happening in the breakdancing, because you are, wherever you are in the dance, you will have to go to that move directly. You can't go back to idle, otherwise it won't be good.
It won't look like dancing.
It won't be good. It won't be true to the dance art form. So that's why these transitions are so much more complex and so much more. It has to be a very, very thorough system that has lots of bridges and branches. So in order for that to work, Amesh and Mike figured out that it'll just sift through the quickest path. So to get you to this move, even if there's no direct path, it'll go through 2 other moves to get you there. So they kind of just came up with it, and they didn't have to do it by hand. They just let me animate it, and then as long as I numbered it correctly, then I didn't have to do all these sheets of paper. It was just, and I think that's part of their genius, is like trying a couple things. They did it by hand to understand it, and then they figured it out.
Yeah, so there's a question in the chat too, asking if it's a bunch of like if statements or if it's a big flow chart, and it's kind of neither. It's a big data structure, big graph of frames that can connect, and there's branches, and there's a bunch of loops and interconnections and stuff like that. We just have algorithms that can find the shortest path between 2 frames. So if you're putting in a button or inputting something with the joystick, the system will just go search through the graph to find the shortest path to that whatever you asked for, and it'll find it. So that might be just like a really short connection, or it might be a long connection that, as John said, goes through several other moves to get there. And then so we actually had to look through and sort of assign lengths. We have like this awesome system that Amesh wrote that finds all the longest paths, and then we asked John to sort of redo transitions to make shorter transitions between those. So eventually we sort of reduced the length of all the transitions. So now to get snappier controls and make it faster and faster, so you can kind of go from anything to anything else.
So did you and your team custom build the engine, or did you?
Yeah, I mean, we use
Okay.
Unity. Like most people use Unity.
Yeah.
So, but the animation engine's all custom. Yeah.
Very cool.
What I want you guys to tell me what it was like when you got to finally play an early build of the game and you got to see your vision on the screen. Like, what was that like?
I mean, I remember when in the first few development meetings with Mike and his guys, when Mike's studio was still here in Montreal, and I would just like, hike up to where he was, and then we would talk a lot about the concept of, how are we going to do this? Are we going to do? Because I remember like early days, people were talking about like, is it going to be mocap? Is it going to be that? And I was like, no, you can't do that with hand drawn, right? And so it was a lot of talking, and then I just went home and I did three line tests of 3 moves. One was like indie step, and then swipes, which is a power move, and then backspin. And then I remember one of Mike's coders the next day had it thrown onto. Back then it was an iPad, and they had one that was tapping, one that you could slide back and forth, and one that you could spin. And I lost my mind. I lost like I remember there was more talking, there was more discussion, and I was just like taking pictures from my phone. I was like texting on. I was like, oh my god, like I lost it. Everyone else was just like, yeah, and we could do this, and we could do that, and I was just like, whoa, this is the greatest. So I just went home and I animated more stuff, and we just kept pushing it. Now, when we were talking about the first time getting it on Switch, that was like porting the game over we had for more. And so it wasn't there. It was like we had so much work to do to get it to where it is now. But I think the first time getting something that we're really happy with was like not too long ago, and it was really, really amazing. It's the best feeling, probably. Yeah, I don't know, Mike or Eric.
Yeah, I think the best moment for me was not like just seeing the animation, but like the first time I could touch something with my finger and go from one move to the other, and then back, like forward, back, and like see like it kind of the character kind of like drop down and come back up and just kind of play back and forth. That was awesome. And then I think like when you just mentioned the first time that you saw it on Switch, the first time we had buttons and like a joystick was such a breath of fresh air. I all of a sudden felt like this is a game now. We struggled for a while with the mobile version. That's what we started. That's what the first idea was for making this game mobile, and it worked pretty well. We made a cool system to sort of dance with your fingers, flick down, and spin around with your finger and stuff like that. But something never felt quite right with that. Once we started developing for the Switch, it all changed, and it just felt better. Everything cemented, and yeah.
So I'm going to transition that into one of our other questions. Why did you guys choose Nintendo? Like, you could have took the game anywhere. What was the draw to Nintendo?
I don't know. For me, it was a bit of the history with the Nintendo that it just, I don't know, the nostalgia of it for me felt right. There's a little bit of nostalgia in Floorcades. I don't know if you guys can pick up on it, but it's kind of like old school hip hop.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's dated in any, I don't know if it has a particular era that it comes from, but but there is a nostalgic factor that the sort of the all ages aspect of Nintendo fans also felt quite right, and we wanted to make this pretty accessible, and that was pretty important to us that kids can play, but adults too, and all across the board. And that, I don't know, Nintendo, it just felt like a Nintendo game.
It does.
Somehow, I don't know.
Don't forget, they pretty much found us, right? Like they came, like Kirk, who was in the crowd, who I didn't know. I think Mike knew Kirk ahead of time, but Kirk just showed up to one of our events. It was at Miggs, pretty much almost a year ago from last Miggs, like pretty much a year ago. He just showed up to our booth and he just got it. He just loved it from the start. He loved everything about it. He didn't even really need to try. He just wanted to sell us on the Switch, which, surprise, I didn't know what that was at the time. This was like before it had come out, and there was, I think, a trailer out, but I had not seen it. I was really more just like kind of the same way. I was more starstruck by Nintendo. Nintendo is interested in this. What?
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah, a very similar kind of, maybe because I stopped playing games so long ago, I forgot, how much those Nintendo games have probably internalized their influence on me. And then that all of a sudden just came back and was just sort of like, wow, this is really, really great. And they were really kind of chasing us for a bit. And then we just wanted to figure out what the deal was. And then figured out what the deal was. It was kind of just like, we're just moving ahead with that. Like, there wasn't any other thoughts, I don't think, where I was like, let's shop around. It was just pretty much from that moment, we were already trying to get this out there as soon as possible. Like, we'd already delayed launches for mobile, and it was from the moment that we decided we were going to be on Nintendo, it was like a sprint, and there were so many things to get done. And then, even all these features that people are requesting now, they're all features we wanted from the start. We just have not had the time to get them all out there, but we definitely thought of all of them, even ones that people haven't thought of, we thought of them. But so we're just we figured we would get it out there with this like kind of basic but good version, hopefully, and but I don't
build from there, really.
It's pretty much.
Yeah, that's the thing I learned about games, even talking to Mike and Philippe. I come from, in the music world where it's like, okay, there's your release date, there's your album, it's out, and then that's it. You don't patch it, you don't add extra chords, you don't change the lyrics of 3. You just kind of like, but then they're telling me, and this seems great. You put it out, people play it, you build a community, they give you ideas, they request things, you try to, work with that, you try to work this, and you keep building it together with this bigger community. And that's something that honestly has been really kind of exciting and inspiring for me to witness, to know that, when they're into it, they're supporting it, they have these great ideas, let's try to get this in for the next patch, and kind of the community like grows the project after that. It's not just like in music, it's like, oh, you do the album, it's out, you do a tour, you get tired of the songs, and you make another album that's totally different or something. No, this is something that you can kind of.
I think you just found a new idea for the music industry, though. DLCs for your upcoming records. I mean, with Spotify, how hard could that be?
Yeah.
So guys, we want to be cognizant of your time, so we'll try to wrap this up pretty quick. But there is two questions I want to get to. The first is, what was it like when you saw your game showcased or shown on the Nindy Showcase? Like, what was that pretty surreal? Like just kind of walk us through that.
Those screens that our trailers were playing on were about the size of a
They were like
building.
it was like IMAX screen size.
It was inside of what's the name?
The Mopop. It used to be called the Experience Music Project in Seattle, but now it's called the Mopop, I guess, Museum of Pop Culture, I guess.
It's a massive space, and they had us up on the top floor for an interview, and our booth was like downstairs, but they had all the trailers playing, and they also had Twitter feeds next to the trailers, so we could see all the comments like on the huge screen. And it was pretty insane, just all the lineups, and also a lot of the tweets were like, I'm about to eat my arm in this lineup.
Oh, right.
Because it's taking so long, because there's so many people lining up for these games. It's just like, it's funny reading people's tweets. But
that was an awesome event.
Yeah.
And are you talking, just to be clear, you're talking about the Nindies, we're talking about the Nindies event at PAX. You might have asked the question about the Nindies Showcase, the video that Nintendo put out, right? Like, is that what you're asking about?
Yeah, but I loved
from
hearing
the
about
Nintendo Direct.
I loved hearing about the other stuff too. Like that's awesome.
Those
like,
two things happened pretty close together, right? Like they sent out the Nindies Showcase video about a week before PAX.
Yeah, that's right.
And then they hosted this Nindies at Night event, which they do the night before PAX, pretty much. I don't know how long they've been doing it, but it's been a few years. So I highly recommend it for anyone who hasn't been and wants to go to PAX West at some point in time in Seattle. Go one night before and go to the Nindies event.
Yeah. You might
Get there
have to do
early
that.
so you don't have to stand in line, though.
right. I don't want to chew my
Your
arm
arm.
off. Right.
Yeah.
So we have. I want to get at least one listener question here, and this is from. He used to be the co-host on this show. He's formerly known as Destinaut. He goes by Hatred Shaped Like a Man now. So,
right.
we feel for him. Yeah. Anyway, the question was, what was the one thing that broke your heart to remove from the game?
Oh, interesting.
For me, it was the touch controls, which were legacy from the original mobile version, because it had like a really cool fire tracer effect where it could show like where your finger went. But the thing is that it had actually conflicted with the proper direction that we ended up going with for our buttons controls, because we were actually trying to keep them parable. We were trying to keep them the same conceptually, I guess. And I don't know, this is kind of too detailed within the internal development of the project, but basically once we cut the umbilical with the touch, which was pretty much just me, I think everyone else was like okay with it, but yeah, that hurt. But I definitely would love to see it in the future.
Well,
but
I'll second that to some degree. I mean, we also had a pretty cool rhythm game with touch targets. So kind of Osu style or Elite Beat Agents for those of you who played those games. The round sort of circular targets that you can kind of hit with your finger. Some of them you have to sort of slide with your finger, or so we had a bunch of rhythm game. A sort of alternative rhythm game style,
like a true rhythm game. Basically.
Yeah, true rhythm game, right? Where
and that was those two features, like the touch controls and that specific rhythm game mode. Those were heavily designed by another designer that was on the team early on, and at some point she left. Her name's Jody Allen. She's also B-Girl Feisty from Montreal, so she was the other person from the break community that was on the team, and so she's a big part of rhythmic controls and rhythm. The rhythm element came a lot from her, so I definitely want to give her a shout out there. But yeah.
But those things don't have to be lost forever too. Like we might bring some of that stuff back. Not really sure. We're sort of we have a few. Everyone's asking for a practice mode, so
Yep.
sort of trying to just respond to the community. Practice mode. A few streamers and people who want to sort of record and stream are asking for latency calibration tools for the rhythm part. So we're working on that. I guess I don't know if we had mentioned this or this was before we went live, that there's some new venues that might show up at some point in time, some new tracks.
So I'm gonna rapid fire some questions. Josh probably gonna kill me, but let's do some rapid fire questions, and this is for any of you to answer. So DLC, it's coming.
With a good strong feature like maybe that rhythm game, that new mode or something like that. Yeah.
On my end for DLC, I'm working on a character. I won't say the name of the character, but they've got their 16 main moves now, plus a flip. So I don't know if I've even told Eric or Mike that, but working on all the transitions. So that character is about 50%.
Okay.
And then this guy's got
I've got a bunch of tracks started. We're gonna give Dell his own menu, so we're gonna make 3 tracks. Got some other very special guests lined up that I'm not gonna talk about yet, but Dell's up first. Those are the beats I'm working on right now, and then the soundtrack is coming out on vinyl and digital.
You're killing my rapid fire questions. That was my.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, so vinyl, double vinyl, is that coming or?
Double vinyl, yeah. It's been sent to the pressing plant already, so I'm waiting for this. And then John has to finish the artwork on the record, and then that should be out in time for in April and May.
Okay. Real quick, can you talk about just the process of creating the music? Like, what was that like? Did you see venues and then you created stuff off of that, or were they just like, "Hey, go make us 40 songs and we're gonna put them in here"? Like, what was that process?
I saw like kind of concept sketches of the venues, rougher versions of it, because John was mainly focused on the animation of the characters, the playable stuff. That's where the meat was, and then for him to the kind of final polish on all the venues didn't happen in probably a couple weeks before we launched, right? So, but that said, he'd already he'd drawn the map, he found these venues, decided what the venues were going to be, and then.
But also, we talked about the eras too, right? Like Mike. You were saying you didn't know if there was a specific era, but we kind of we talked like 70s and 80s, 90s, 2000s into. So I know that you kind of had.
Yeah, I kind of stayed pretty method. Use old tube mics and tape delays and stuff for the 70s stuff, and old Roland AP phasers and the battery powered ones just to get that funk in there that way. As it moved into the 80s and the 90s, I just used era specific sampling.
That's cool.
That's 1200s, 8-bit samplers, 12-bit samplers, 16-bit samplers. Some of the menu music was done in stuff, so that's more late 90s stuff. So we kind of wanted a lot of that stuff represented, and I just kind of went method with the gear I was using. But musically, I had to play everything. Drums, bass, guitar, keyboards. Sometimes I had to scream. A little wow! You know, like those little kind of throw that in there, put it in a little 8-bit sampler, detune it a couple semitones, throw it in, cut it off so it's like it came off a record. You know?
Yeah.
We did that. I cut a lot of the stuff. Those are my daughters doing the countdowns. That are everybody's head now. And the funny thing is, if you listen, because we've been working on this game for about 3 years, like on a track like Blueprints, which was probably the first one, I can hear a significant difference in the sound of their voice to like the ones that we did, like Lab Time. I did pretty recently, like just before launch, and yeah, I can hear that their vocal cords actually change. You know what I mean? But it's funny. It's a nice document of.
So you didn't just record them saying 4, 3, 2, 1 once. They did it for every song.
Yeah. I was a bit of a slave driver in the studio. They're always like, "Hey, Dad, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Hey, can you say show them what you got?" And Ruby didn't have her syllables together. She said, "Show them what you got." I'm like, "Show them what you got. Show them what you got." I was like, "How about oh?" And then she goes, "Oh." I'm like, "No. Oh. I was like, "Never mind." You know, but you grab the bits that you can, and you kind of just arrange it so it's funky. You know what I mean?
These kids, dude, they were also testing her game a lot from like early days. I remember like your daughter Maple is like so good at the game now.
Yeah,
she's like,
yeah, she can pretty much smoke. Yeah.
So, physical release, special edition, any of that planning, maybe with an art book or something crazy?
I like the art book idea. I know, Mike, you did some research on the physical, right?
Yeah, and there's some questions in the chat also. I think there's 2 questions already asking about retail. And yeah, I really want to do that just for my own my own sake. I want the actual physical copy of it. And it's actually not too bad. Nintendo makes it fairly easy. So we didn't we kind of spent everything we had making the game and had to just launch it on
We might
eShop
actually
because
we might actually make bootlegs, like just cut our own cardboard and send it with a little handwritten code on it.
There you go. Luckily for you, Nintendo doesn't listen to us, so.
But so yeah, we've been chatting about this, and we wanted to put together some packages of some things. So to get a physical copy, I don't know if that's going to happen. No promises here, but that would be awesome. And with some of this bundled content too, like John's got also all sorts of cool little drawings of the characters, and we made cards too. I know that some people can't see this because they're just listening, but we have, these like playing cards, not playing cards, like trading card style things, right?
Okay.
You actually see them in the game too.
Right. Those are the move deck or whatever.
Yeah, the break deck, and so
Break deck, yeah.
there's a 128 card pack set of trading cards that we're thinking of packaging up as well.
Mike, how do I get those?
You can't yet, but we're working on those. They're not, yeah. So the idea, was always to try to make them physical.
So make sure if you guys can do physical, you do a reversible cover, so we can decide which side we like best.
Oh, there you go.
So I even got I can't remember the name of the company, but there is a company that does like limited edition runs of games, so like Retro City Rampage, and because it was late, they actually shipped 3 different covers for that game, so you can decide which one you want to put in the book. So there's if you got extra art laying around, John, there's plenty of places to put it. So
Cool.
Well, guys, this has been a blast. Hey, is there any other questions that before we go?
There's a big one a lot of people have asked on Twitter, and it's been in the chat a couple times. Online multiplayer battle mode, is that in the realm of possibility?
We have been processing this request because it's come up a lot. We're going to start light and try to give some, online leaderboards and stuff, so at least you can compare your scores with your friends and challenge them that way. Yeah, we'd love to, but I can't promise that. So there's
on
that.
my end, I'm like banging my. I want online multiplayer. Just kidding. Not like that.
So completely unrelated. Last question, Kid Koala. Dell's not responding to me on Twitter. I've been asking, can you confirm right here Event 3 is already in process? I don't want to wait 16 years again.
I have done some turntable layers on a number of tracks already, so I don't know what those will end up being, but they were supposedly for the next Deltron. This was at Dan's studio, so
there we go.
I know there is a track that features on the new Dr. Octagon album forthcoming that features Keith and Qbert, Dell, and I all on one track.
Okay, cool.
That's been recorded. That's been that's coming out on that album. But the Deltron stuff, like, I think I don't know. There's a handful of tracks that I've already done one pass the turntables on already, but they didn't have lyrics on them yet. Dell likes to percolate, and then when it happens, it's gonna happen big. So, yeah. Stay tuned.
There it is. You heard it here first. Kid Koala confirmed. Event 3. Anyway,
yeah, online multiplayer battle mode.
Yeah, exactly. So, last Floor Kids question. A hatred shaped like a man, formerly Destinaut. Is Floor Kids 2 going to be called Floor Kids 2 Electric Boogaloo?
It rhymes. It's nice.
I mean, is there a better name?
I think we flip it, but
You do like a side scroller time traveling Floor Kids.
Floor Kids 2 Electric Boogie.
Oh man. Well, hey guys, this has been an absolute blast. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for making a killer game that I've enjoyed. Hate actually bought. I was streaming one day. He's like, okay, look, I need you to play this game. I'm like, I know, I will. He's like, nope, I'll be right back. Gets back. I'm streaming, and he's like, text me. Here's an eShop card. Buy this game and stream it right now. I'm like, fair enough. So and I almost trolled him. I was gonna put the money in and then buy something else just to be like, just.
That's immediately what I thought. I was like, yep, that's happening.
So, but I played it on stream and started getting the hang of it. I think I 5-starred one song. I was like, all right, that's okay. The rest were not so good, but I got lucky on one. Later that night or the next day, I can't remember. I had family visiting for the holiday, and we put that in with my wife, myself, my uncle, and my aunt, and we were laughing and having just a great time doing the multiplayer. Like, they had no clue. I mean, I literally just handed them a controller and said, go, And so, like, the first time my wife's character fell flat on her face, like, we were crying. We were laughing so hard. It was just, it's incredibly fun multiplayer. So I can see why so many people want to be able to do it online. But even if you can get a chance to play it multiplayer, anybody that's thinking about picking this game up, that it just adds so much value to the game. So, thank you guys for coming, for hanging out. Tell us all the places. Mike, we'll start with you. Where can people follow you and, plug anything you want, whatever?
Well, start at floorkids.com, and there's a whole bunch of, social media stuff there that you can go to, the YouTube, the Twitter, the Instagram, and all that stuff. Yeah, that's the easiest thing to do. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. All right. John, how about you, bud?
John Animation. That's on Instagram and Twitter, and I also like do a lot of the Facebook on on Florida Kids, the Facebook page, and currently I'm running the Florida Kids Universe on Instagram and also the Twitter. So I'm out there.
Give him a shout.
And Kid Koala, how about you, bud?
I'm mainly on Tinder.
Farmers
Plenty
only.
of fish.
Yeah.
Not married with children. So
Swipe left.
I'm on kidkoala.com, but state this, like I said, we're about to go on tour April and May. We're doing the Vinyl Vaudeville Floor Kids Edition show. We're going to bring a traveling arcade of custom consoles that we built, so you can come early, battle your friends before the show starts, and then we're gonna mix up some of the music into the gig too. So that's North America, April, May, and then I think Europe in the fall. And come on out, have fun.
Very cool. Hate, how about you, bud?
You can find me on our Discord, the NPC Discord. You can find me on Twitter, hate0 with an X. I do want to say something special. If everyone tunes in next week, N64 Josh is going to speed run Just Dance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that'll be happening. Never. Guys, you're going to find me on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, all the places, N64Josh. Remember, if you want to get yourself a free audiobook, it's audibletrial.com/NPC. The chair I'm sitting in, opseat.com. Use coupon code N64Josh. And, of course, my Patreon if you want to get an extra podcast. So if you are enjoying these shows, all the reviews we can get, the better. And I forgot, I want to mention this as I was reading through the reviews this week. If some people don't want to do Discord or Twitter or whatever, if you want to just be able to email us, it's just n64josh@gmail.com. You can just email that if you have a question or feedback or whatever, n64josh@gmail.com. So thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next week. Okay, so we're still live. We're just going to host somebody on Twitch, and then we can put a bow on this thing. So everybody that's here live, thank you guys for hanging out with us. We really, really
Thanks
appreciate
for having
you.
us. That was fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, it was a blast.
guys.
It was a blast.
We did it. It happened. We made it.
We did.
Thanks for coming out. I know it's late for you guys.
Nah. Thanks for putting up with our goofball.
No, that was great. That was legit. That was great.
All right, guys in chat, here is what is going on? There we go. Here is who we're gonna go host and raid if you guys want to. So her name is Sam. She's awesome. She's celebrating her 1 year of Twitch partnership. There it is. Hit her with a N64 raid. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you later. Come on. Really?
Yeah.
It doesn't want to copy and paste. Not yet.
Are we off Twitch yet?
We will be as soon as my mouse works. Oh,
So they can still hear me?
Yeah.
Hello,
they can
people.
yeah,
Hello,
you can
world.
they can still hear you.
This isn't on the podcast, so this is where we can do silly stuff. If any of you are ever in Portland and want to pick up a beer or some good food, I can show you like 4 places.